What's the penalty for crossing a border unlawfully?
I would defer to the Department of Justice on any.
Well, let's try it this way. Who has exclusive jurisdiction over immigration cases?
Again, it's outside of my lane, but I would say it's CBP or ICE.
So it'd be federal. It's exclusively federal.
Yes, sir.
Both, and they're really, unless you can think of something I can't think of, it's either crossing a border unlawfully or overstaying a visa would be about the only ways you could get in the country unlawfully. Only two ways I can think of. You either cross one of our territorial boundaries or you're invited in and you overstay your visa. And those are both exclusively federal. But I think you'll agree with me that almost all of our interactions in life are with state and local law enforcement. It's not an FBI agent who stops us for speeding. It's not an ATF agent who is working the bar scene. So if most of our citizen police encounters are state and local, and yet immigration is exclusively federal, how are the federal officers supposed to know about folks who are not here lawfully?
Sir, the Department of Homeland Security has the PEP program, which I am not at liberty to speak on. But I would say if Congress passed a law that commandeered every local police officer and wanted to pay for that, then I think we would welcome it.
When you say, well, commandeer is such a pejorative word, how about we just say cooperate? I mean, you don't commandeer people for your terrorism task forces, do you? You don't commandeer people for your narcotics task forces, do you? It's called cooperation. And yet you have a policy that says that New Orleans Police Department members shall not make inquiries into an individual's immigration status. What do you mean by inquiries?
Sir, if there's a criminal in New Orleans and an officer interacts with that person and there's a criminal warrant, that person.
See, I don't know what you mean by criminal. You mean if the person has, if there's probable cause to believe that an offense was committed, or if there's already an outstanding warrant?
If there's a state, federal, or local warrant or probable cause that an officer observes conduct that's criminal, they will arrest the person.
All right, and then they can inquire as to the person's status.
Our officers under this policy do not inquire about a person's immigration status.
They can or cannot?
Under this policy, they do not inquire about a person's immigration status.
Why not?
Because we believe that, one, this follows federal law, and two,
how are the federal law enforcement officers supposed to know who is here unlawfully if your officers don't inquire? They're not the ones that are interacting with them. They're not enforcing traffic laws. They don't respond to domestic violence calls. The FBI doesn't have jurisdiction over that. That would be your state and local officers. So how is that supposed to happen?
Sir, I think your concerns are with the broader system and not with this policy. In New Orleans, we arrest every criminal that we interact with. We bring them to the jail.
I love the way you phrase that. You arrest every criminal you interact with. They're only a criminal after they've had a jury trial, Mr. Butterworth. They're a suspect up until that point.
Correct.
Mr.